having 4 or 5 internships became average for a fresh grad. And that's where the danger lies, right? Some of these are personal preferences. Hi everyone, this is Iran. If you haven't met me before, nice to officially meet you. Recently, I wrote an article about what the heck a good software engineer resume looks like in 2024, especially for new grads and early career professionals. And even though I have a very tiny following, this article was more popular than anything that I've written before, which made me feel like we should talk about this issue, this crazy expectation of what resumes should look like a little bit more. So everything started when I was just browsing the cscareer question subreddit on Reddit, and I saw a resume that a new graduate shared, and they said that they were struggling to find a job and they were wondering whether something was wrong with their resume. And I looked at this resume and they had 4 or 5 internships. They touched some very relevant and cool technologies, and I thought that this was a very good resume for a new graduate. And then when I was scrolling through the comments, I saw that somebody said, this is a very average resume for a student, so they were like, so you're gonna have trouble. I was like, when did having 4 or 5 internships, using cool technologies, multiple languages, and even technologies like messaging queues became average for a fresh grad? And then I started reading the other comments, and there were some people who were pointing out that this is absolutely not an average resume for someone who is a fresh grad. And this person who was saying that this was an average resume doubled down and tried to support their stance by saying, you know, the optimization that they did with the messaging queue wasn't impressive enough, so it looked weird. The resume gave weird vibes. And I was sitting there thinking, a new graduate having exposure to something like a messaging queue, a new graduate knowing what a messaging queue is very impressive. I don't remember a lot of my friends and me being aware of messaging queues and even using a lot of that in our internships. So I was like, what is going on? Another thing that I realized recently, because I'm looking at a lot of new grad resumes, and I'm also reading a lot about what the good resume is so I can keep up to date and give the best help that I can. I'm realizing that there's a lot of contradicting information. Like, some person might tell you, you should write a 2-page resume to put more information in, and somebody else will come and say, oh my god, anything more than 1 page is crazy, it's a crime, you should never do it. You sometimes see that they say put your education at the very top, some say put it at the very bottom, some say put it at the top if you have less than 3 years of experience. Like, everything seems to just ping pong, everything seems to change depending on who you ask. Some people say that an objective statement would be a good idea. Let's say if you want to relocate, you can put it in your objective statement. And some people say objective statements are ridiculous for something like relocation, it doesn't really make sense. So you're like, should I write one? Should I not write one? Every time you ask someone else, it changes. Another thing is there is a lot of different ideas about what the applicant tracking system is capable of doing. Some people say that the applicant tracking system actually ranks candidates, weeds out candidates, so you need to put like secrets, words into your resume, try to match it to the job description, add soft skills so that you get a better score from the ATS. And some people say, oh, application tracking systems never do that. We look at every single resume ourselves. Soft skills being in the resume is just waste of space, looks unprofessional. So again, you keep ping-ponging back and forth between these ideas depending on who you ask. It does feel like some of these are personal preferences of a group of people, and you never know what percentage of people actually agree with those preferences. So if you enter this journey of perfecting your resume, there's a chance that you're actually never gonna arrive. You're gonna keep changing things, you're gonna keep switching things, and it's never going to be perfect. And that's where the danger lies, right? You might ask, okay, why do you care this much about this issue? Why can't people just keep changing back and forth? Like, why do you care? Why does this matter? It matters because the job market is already very tough, especially for new graduates, especially for international students. The energy and the time that goes into continuously changing these resumes can easily go into something else, like networking better or applying to more jobs or upskilling. It would be really helpful to candidates to switch that energy energy to something else that's more productive. The reality is that the job market isn't doing great, especially for computer science jobs. You cannot undo a bad market with a great resume. Will a great resume increase your chances? Yes. Should you still send your resume to multiple people so it can be reviewed? Yes. But if you sent your resume to like 20 people and you kept changing certain things back and forth, maybe it's time to rest the resume, put your precious time and energy into something else. Because the reality is that the job market is really not doing great. So ever since mid-2022, the number of open tech jobs has declined and it has been stagnant. Into 2023 and 2024, you can see that it went to almost COVID levels, like when COVID first hit and we saw that downward spike, it almost hit those levels. Gone are the days of 2022 where we saw this huge peak of tech job availability. There are really not that many jobs right now, especially for entry-level jobs and jobs that will sponsor international students. You can also look at graphs of how many people have been laid off. We saw a lot of layoffs ever since first quarter of 2022. And it doesn't show any signs of stopping. We saw layoffs in the second quarter of 2024 as well. So we're still in the situation where the tech unemployment rate stays high. There is only so much we can do if there are not that many jobs. Our resume will not magically increase the number of jobs that are available for us. Another thing to keep in mind is that the number of computer science graduates and graduates from similar programs has only increased over the years. So we still have a huge supply of people who are trying to get these jobs, and we just don't have that many jobs anymore, and the expectations to get those jobs is a lot higher. I remember talking to an engineer that I really respect, and he was telling me how 15-20 years ago he got his first tech job. He had a physics degree and he didn't even know how to code that well yet. So we went from that to a completely different world. And if your latest knowledge about the industry, if your latest insight about the industry is still rooted in either peak 2022 or 10 years before that, there is a very high chance that you actually have no idea how difficult it is to get a job right now, and you have no idea how effective these resume reviews are going to be to get a job. So if you are a new computer science graduate, or you're an international student looking for a job so that you can stay in the US, or you have financial troubles so you need to get a job ASAP, I understand that this is a really difficult period. Don't let people who are telling you that something is wrong with you get to you. Unfortunately, we are in a very terrible tech job market. We are at a point where expectations are crazy high, but I do believe that at some point it will turn around. So I think now, if you've already spent a quite bit of effort on your resume, I would recommend you to try spending time into something else, like networking better, upskilling, trying to look at alternative careers like teaching or research positions. If you have financial or immigration pressures, I think that will be more helpful for your overall career journey. Let's stop acting like everything's about the resume. Let's start to realize that we have crazy unrealistic expectations for these new grads, and let's create a more supportive environment. If you are struggling to find a job as a fresh grad or an international student, you're not alone. I do a lot of help. Reach out to me. I'll probably put some of those links in the description box below. Just keep at it and don't let these assumptions get to you. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.